Now, I think for the benefit of our viewers, if you could take just a bit of time and give us sort of a top line, a 30,000-foot look at the Druze community, because I'm not sure that the majority of our viewers are aware of the background here. So if you could just talk about the nature of the Druze community to some degree, that would be very helpful, I think.
Sure. So we are talking about a tiny minority. The majority are living in the Middle East, 1.5 million Druze members. The religion was originated 1,000 years ago in Egypt, and we experienced persecutions and massacres, but we succeeded to survive. Now the Druze people are living in four countries in the Middle East, in Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and in Syria. There are so many unique facts that the religion was originated from the Islam, but we separated ourselves. The most important value to know about the Druze people that we have no territorial, no national aspiration. It's not written in our religion, Mike, that one day we will have our own country, that we will form our own entity. That is why we are loyal to the country that we were born in. That is why Israeli Druze are loyal to Israel, Syrian to Syria, Lebanese to Lebanon, and Jordanian to Jordan. Specifically in Israel, we are the loyalist minority living in Israel. We are a successful model of an integration as a minority. We draft into army, into the IDF in the highest percentage in Israel, which is 82%. It is higher than the number among the Jewish sector. So we are talking about a peaceful minority with no territorial or national aspirations.
Is there cohesion though between the communities that are located in the various countries? In other words, what I mean is, I understand what you're saying. The loyalties are to the country you were born in, but overall, is there something that binds the Druze community together, whether they're in Syria, whether they're in Jordan, Israel, Lebanon?
Yes, but it is complicated since we are living in the most complex geopolitical arena. Think about it. Israel does have peace with Jordan, but till December 2024, we had a dictator in Syria called Bashar al-Assad, in which physically, technically, you couldn't meet them, you couldn't contact them or talk to them. So we find ourselves as Israeli Druze as the most influential, strong minority. Although we are tiny minority, 150,000, less than 2% of the population, but because we live under a democratic state, so we succeed to bring our voices to reach top national position and to influence both domestic policy and also regional policy.
Okay, and how large is the community in Syria?
So here is the point that what happened in Syria was very symbolic because we are talking about Sueda, which is historically the major location, the symbol of the existence of the Druze in the Middle East. We have there 700,000 Druze people, as we mentioned, peaceful minority, not a threat, that was targeted in this unprecedented terror attack again and again since December, as we had, since we thought we are talking about instability, transition mode that rapidly became a terror attack against, or a campaign of terror against every minority. We saw these attacks happening, Mike, against the Alawites in March. We saw the Druze community being attacked in April. We saw that happening against the Christian community last month, and now again in July against the Druze. So I understand that you are living under a state that is changing its identity and that we are dealing with extremists. You know, this is the most important lesson that we are learning. I don't see here liberal, sophisticated, educated, open-minded leadership. What I see is extremism, Islamism, fundamental, radical leadership that is trying or seeking to lead. And for me, after seeing this, I don't want to describe or to graphics, but I am sure you saw the barbarism, the brutality, like October 7th, as I had as an Israeli Druze, but now it is Jolani style, with 5 years old children being raped, beheaded, sniped, people burned alive, with
Now,
1,100 casualties.
how large is that community in Syria, the Druze community in Syria? How, it's 150,000, you say, in Israel. What is the size of the community in Syria?
700,000, the main majority, the biggest community in the Middle East. And it is a community of Sultan Bashar al-Atrash, the iconic Syrian Druze leader who led the Syrian revolution in 1925 against the French. So that we are talking about loyal citizens, peaceful minority. And when you see this organized, very well equipped, trained, hundreds of vehicles and fighters heading to Sweden, operating freely, committing this massacre, killing everyone, shaving the beard of the religious Druze leaders, and attacking every symbol of heritage, of religion, you understand that there is a huge dissonance of what we are hearing from Al-Jolani. When he's wearing his Western suit, when he went to the West, that embraced him very quickly, hugged him very rapidly. He's buying legitimacy. And you see that there's a huge dissonance because what I see is totally different. So we are calling the West first, to believe that this is happening, to hold their horses, to rethink about the foreign policy. How are we going to deal with Syria? How can you trust a person without understanding if he is reliable, if he does have the capability, the ability, the willingness to build a real pluralistic, equal Syria that would accept and respect all minorities, and not to think that the majority, the Sunni majority, will force other minorities to adopt Islam. And it's not a
What is
domain.
the, if I could, I'm sorry for interrupting, Gadeer. I'm for the benefit of the viewers again. This may sound like a simplistic question, I know, but what's the primary reason for this conflict? What is the is it a religious conflict between the Islamist government now of Al-Jolani, who now goes by al-Shara? And you're absolutely correct. The West has embraced him very quickly. I think out of this traditional Western hope, right, that things will be different after Assad. And so if they just hope for it enough, maybe it will happen. And you're right. He went from an Al Qaeda member and wearing his uniform during the overthrow of the government to suddenly he's in a suit and an expensive watch and look at this, we can drop the sanctions and so there is this sense of, oh, if we just push this forward quick enough, maybe we can change the trajectory of Syria. But if I get back to that other question, what is the primary reason for the conflict? Why the attacks on the Druze community from this new Islamist government?
Wow, it's an excellent question, Mike. Because, I agree with you. Everyone was so enthusiastic after these deadly, bloody years of civil war to see like flourishing Syria, Swiss style. And I don't expect an ISIS remnant now in the phase one to build a democracy. But everyone embraced him very quickly, rapidly, in unprecedented. Like, let us remove sanctions. Like, hey, hold your horses. We are talking about an ISIS remnant, and we are in modern era that you can open up and see what he was saying, what he believed in, as a man living in a cave, fighting every value I believe me and you and all of our audience cherish. So yes, hold your horses. And for your question, our main challenge is to reframe the terminology because the regime immediately said, we don't agree, they don't represent us, they don't symbolize the new regime, we don't control them, we didn't send them. Guess what, for me, regardless if you do control or not, if you did send them from Damascus or not, if you seek leadership, you must understand that you are responsible if you seek to be the new president.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.